When I was a corporate manager of Fairchild Industries in 1974 through 77, I met the late Dr. Werner von Braun in early 74. At that time, von Braun was dying of cancer, but he assured me that he would live a few more years in order to tell me about the game that was being played, that game being the effort to weaponize space, to control the Earth from space and space itself. Von Braun's purpose in life during the last years of his life, his dying years, was to educate the public and decision makers about why space-based weapons are a dumb, dangerous, destabilizing, too costly, unnecessary, unworkable, undesirable idea. The strategy that Werner von Braun taught me was that first the Russians are going to be considered to be the enemy. In fact, when I met him in 74, they were the enemy, the identified enemy. We were told that they had killer satellites. We were told that they were coming to get us and control us, the dirty commies, that whole story. First, the Russians were the enemy against whom we're going to build space-based weapons. Then terrorists would be identified, and that was soon to follow. We heard a lot about terrorism. Then we were going to identify third world country crazies. We now call them nations of concern. But he said that would be the third enemy against whom we would be needing to build space-based weapons. And the next enemy was asteroids. Now at this point, he kind of chuckled the first time he said it. Asteroids, against asteroids we're going to build space-based weapons. So it was funny then. And the funniest one of all was against what he called aliens, extraterrestrials. That would be the final card. And over and over and over during the 4 years that I knew him and was giving his speeches for him, he would bring up that last card. And remember, Carol, the last card is the alien card. We're going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens. And all of it, he said, is a lie. He didn't mention a timeline, but he said that it was going to be speeding up faster than anybody could possibly imagine. That the effort to put weapons in space was not only based on a lie, but would accelerate past the point of people even understanding it until it was already up there and too late. In 1977, I was at a meeting in Fairchild Industries in a conference room called the War Room. This is 1977. And they were talking about creating a war in the Gulf region when there was $25 billion in the space-based weapons program that yet had not been identified. It wasn't called the Strategic Defense Initiative, at least, until 1983. This weapons system then had obviously been going on for some time that I didn't know anything about. So I stood up in this meeting in 1977 and it said, I'd like to know why we're talking about space-based weapons against these enemies. I'd like to know more about this. Would somebody tell me what this is about? Nobody answered. They went on with this meeting as though I hadn't said anything.
Hello everybody, hope everything's well. Now you heard by Dr. Carol in this beginning of this video how she had a discussion with Dr. Van Braun. Now for those who are not familiar with Dr. Van Braun, he was a part of Operation Paperclip, one of the many scientists to be moved over from the Nazi occult programs over to the US to make the space programs. Okay? There's even reference of him saying that the knowledge of the technology he has comes from other beings. And when they talk about aliens, all right, these aliens are none other than the priestess of Samaria, okay, also known as the Anunnaki. All right, so when they talk about aliens, that's who they're making reference to. Now, here in the Jerusalem Post came out in December of 2020 saying that the US and Israel is in communion pretty much with this galactic federation, quote unquote. All right, so they're coming out and telling you the deal because they're bringing out or they're implementing this last operation, which will be this false alien invasion. Now, you heard her that she was told by Dr. Von Braun in the 70s how they're going to be implementing this, and how they already implemented all the other operations, the Middle East, making the Soviets seem like the enemy, terrorists, etc. All right. Now, I already talked about this in my video, The Ancient Breakaway Civilization, Manly P. Hall talking about these group of enlightened beings guiding civilization, which I just mentioned again is the Anunnaki. Now, they are conditioning the public right now. That's why they are playing things like this and allowing people like Michio Kaku to talk. You're probably also familiar with the video of Ronald Reagan talking at the UN about how our differences, which Michio Kaku here makes reference to, how our differences would be um, put aside if an outside threat were to come. Okay, so here they're already conditioning everybody for this world government. So I want to play this small clip here.
Wondering if there can't be an upside to all this. I'm a big fan of the original Star Trek series, and it was only when there were alien civilizations that seemed to challenge the Earth that you found that the Earth got its act together for the kind of global governance that all the visionaries say we need that if we're going to deal with climate change, if we're going to deal with all the modern issues, global finance, where the sovereignty of individual nations is actually a political barrier to solving these big problems. So can there be an upside to the alien threat?
Believe it or not, when President Ronald Reagan met Mikhail Gorbachev, we now know during the transcripts of the meeting that he said that if we were ever attacked by the Martians, you and me, the Soviets and the capitalist U.S., would be allies in the fight against the Martians. Well, that's how Ronald Reagan looked at it, and believe it or not, there's some truth to it. If we are faced with a common enemy in outer space, it would indeed help to unite the Earth, just the way Ronald Reagan said.
Okay, so there you go. So they're slowly conditioning the public to try to accept this. All right. Now, I want to show you, this is how, and they show this small little clip, well, not clip, breaking news. You see right here, it says right here, what will happen when aliens attack? Well, it's not breaking news. I shouldn't have said that. But it's not even saying if. They're saying what will happen when aliens attack. So they're already conditioning you to think aliens will attack. Okay? Now, you're probably familiar with this symbol from my video, The Occult Space Program. Okay? Now, you guys have to watch this video because this video breaks down the symbol, not just in America, which is NASA, all right, but it's showing how this symbol is used around the world, okay? So the whole space program is controlled, all of them, all right? Now, why you think Trump, before he left office, implemented Space Force, which you can see right here is the vector symbol, okay? So this is all coming out right now to, again, like I said, condition the public for this final phase. All right. Now, I want to show this clip right here. You can see right here at the bottom, Cambridge University professor says if aliens exist, then the principles of evolution mean they will likely look like humans. Okay. Now, in this clip, the host, the news anchor, asked, well, the concept art that we see usually is crowdsourced information. Okay, so when you see that, I'm going to show these pictures soon. I just want to show this clip. When you see these aliens, that's being released by the CIA. Some of this is being beamed into certain people with the technologies, because again, we already talked about how they already shown how they're doing the rituals. That's already been talked about. Okay, so a lot of this is being astral project into people as well. All right, so let me play this.
And the pictures and descriptions of people who claim that they've been abducted by aliens give of the creatures that abducted them tend to be fairly consistent. Is that simply sort of crowdsourcing of information, do you think?
I think it could be people just picking up on the memes that they see in sci-fi movies. Maybe the reality is stranger than we could ever imagine. But I mean, I think that question of whether or not we're alone is one of the biggest and most profound questions we can ask. And
Okay, so you get the idea. And it even says right here, he's former government UFO investigator, I believe, for the UK, I believe. So, as you can see, they're slowly conditioning the masses for this. Okay, now here are some of the concept art that you will see that people say they channeled or they came in contact with. Now, this is the typical, again, big head, big eyed, Aleister Crowley. You know, he took that look from the Egyptian god Lam. Okay, here's another one. All right, and as you can see, they're all humanoid. All right, or they make them green, blue. We already talked about that before, which is the depiction of these gods, Ptah, things of that nature, Allah. All right, here's another one. All right, looks like it's beaming from another dimension. Here's one where they say Earth is going to go through a sort of transformation. You see the bottom here, looks like some sort of energy that's, well, all around really. It's going to be lifted into another dimension. You see Saturn on the right here, which is supposed to be symbolizing beings on Saturn on another dimension. Okay, this is the concept art that they make that's being channeled to them by these CIA occultists. Okay, and here's the last one, which is supposed to be the Galactic Federation. You see these beings. You see the ones in the back that's supposed to symbolize the Pleiades. Okay, so I'm sure some of you already saw this before in your own research, but you see how they're already conditioning you. And this will all be manufactured by the shadow government, which is being run, again, by the Anunnaki. Thank you for listening, and peace and balance to the ancient ones.